Today we are going to be talking about my end of the year reading plans, which are very exciting, if I do say so myself. I'm currently working on a reading vlog project. The first video should be going live at some point in the next few months, but I'm choosing the books for that vlog project in a very particular way. So I'm not doing an October TBR because it kind of defeats the point, but I might do a TBR for November and December, we'll see. But that is not the point of this video. This video is about my general end of the year reading plans. I might read some of these in October. I might read some of these later in the year. I might not read any of these because we know what I'm like, but I'm basically going to be answering the questions in the end of the year book tag, which I believe was created by Ariel Bassett. I've done this tag every year, I think, for the last few years. I don't think I've done it every year that I've been on BookTube, but definitely the last few years. And I have changed some of the questions because every year I do this tag and the first question is just not relevant to me. So the first question that I'm going to be answering is, what are 3 books that you want to read before the end of the year? I think I actually put this on my end of the year TBR last year, but I would really like to read The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. I bought this when I went to New York well over a year ago now. It was probably nearer to 18 months ago, and I am convinced, I've never read anything by this author before, but I'm convinced that this is going to be 5 stars because it's a literary fantasy, sci-fi fantasy, and I've heard comparisons to N.K. Jemisin, who is one of my favourite authors. I've heard it's written in a really unique way, and that is something that I actively look for in sci-fi and fantasy. So I really hope I have time to get to this before the end of the year because it is a 5-star prediction. That's one of the later questions, but I don't want to repeat books, so just know this is a 5-star prediction. I do also have an arc for Pantomime by L.R. Lamb, which I would love to get to. This is actually being republished. So I have the original copy of this that my sister got me for Christmas 5 years ago. I couldn't find it on my shelves, but I know I have it somewhere. From what I gather, L.R. Lamb has now resold this trilogy. It's called the Micah Grey trilogy, and it's now been resold to a different publisher. And I think they've made some rewrites to it, similar to what Samantha Shannon did with the Bone Season. But yeah, this is being republished. There's new covers. I have got an arc of it through NetGalley, so I would like to get around to it. This is a circus fantasy, and it has an intersex main character. And then a romance that I would like to get to before the end of the year is Sweet Heat by Bolu Babalola. This is the sequel to Honey and Spice, which I loved. I gave it 5 stars when I read it a few years ago, and did this book need a sequel? No, but actually when I heard the synopsis I thought this is so clever because I've not come across this before. Basically Sweet Heat follows the same characters from the first book, but it's a second chance romance. So in Honey and Spice you see the characters get together, you see their chemistry and how great they are together, but they're in college. Now they're in, I think, their mid-20s. Something has happened in the last few years that has meant that they've broken up, and now you're seeing their second chance romance. And I just think it's a really interesting concept, and because I liked the writing in Honey and Spice and I liked the characters, I would like to get to this one before the end of the year because I literally just bought it on Kindle. Next question is, are there any series you want to finish or make progress with before the end of the year? I would like to make progress with the Malazan Book of the Fallen series by Stephen Erickson. I am planning on picking up book 7 in the next few weeks. I don't think I'm going to finish this series before the end of the year. I don't think there's any chance of that happening because these books are huge, but I would like to maybe get to the end of book 8 and then I can finish books 9 and 10 in the new year at some point. The Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers is another series that I would love to finish this year because I gave the first 2 books 5 stars, and I think I have books 3 and 4 on my Kindle. I tend to pick them up when they're on offer for 99p. The first book was 5 stars and then the second book was even better, and I didn't think that was possible, but this is just a perfect cozy sci-fi series in my opinion. It's set in the far future where humans have left the Earth, they've gone out into the galaxy, and they're now mingling with other species, and it's very much about acceptance and understanding, and it's about found family. Each book kind of works as a standalone but are set in this same far future, and yeah, I love this series. The way that Becky Chambers approaches the different themes really works for me and it makes me feel very emotional. The final series that I would like to try and make progress with this year is the Eddie Flynn series by Steve Kavanagh. This is a legal thriller series slash courtroom drama. It basically follows a lawyer called Eddie Flynn, and he's a defense attorney, but his whole ethos is that he'll only represent people that he believes are innocent. I actually haven't read the first 3 books in this series. I started with 13, which is book 4, and that is the book that a lot of people start with. Steve Kavanagh himself has said it's absolutely fine to read these books out of order because they follow the same main character, but they're written to be read as standalones. The last book that I read in this series was The Devil's Advocate, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, just like every other book in this series that I've read. So I would like to make progress with this series, but also I'd like to go back and read the first 3 books that I never got round to. Next question is, do you have an autumnal book to transition to the end of the year, either a recommendation or a book you plan to read? So my recommendation for you is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. First of all, because this cover just screams autumn. I think it has one of the most stunning covers that I've ever seen. This is a contemporary romance. It follows 2 characters who initially meet because they find out that they're dating the same woman. You then follow them over, I think it's a period of 10 years, where they gradually become friends and they weave in and out of each other's lives. And I thought this was a very raw and realistic portrayal of a relationship. Friends to lovers doesn't always work for me. However, it can work for me when you actually see the characters become friends. And I thought the friendship in this was great. It felt very natural when it started to progress to something more. And I liked how the characters were very different. The female main character is someone who avoids serious relationships. She is scared of commitment, whereas the guy is someone who really believes in true love. It's set in New York, which is one of my favourite cities, and I think this is very underhyped as a romance. I've heard some people talking about it, probably when it came out, but I think this is definitely one that's worth picking up. A book that I would like to pick up as we get into October is Best Hex Ever by Nadia El Fassi. I put this on my list and then realised that I didn't actually know what it's about. I bought it recently because I saw it in a 99p Kindle deal, and I think the cover is very pretty. This is, I'm assuming, a witchy romance. I'm just going to look up the synopsis on Goodreads. It doesn't have the best average rating on Goodreads, but this follows a witch who, I think she's very into baking. However, she's been cursed to have a terrible love life, and then she meets someone who she decides is worth breaking the hex for. It says it's a sweet and spicy debut romance. So yeah, I'm hoping I get around to picking this up in October because it's the perfect time of year for a witchy romance. Speaking of which, I've just remembered another recommendation and another book that is on my TBR. Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood is a book that I read last year, and this was so much fun. I really liked the audiobook as well, so my plan is to read the audiobook for the next book, which I think is called Uncharmed. They are standalones, so I think they follow different characters, but they're set within the same world, and this was just very cozy. It follows a witch who is trying to reignite her spark and get back in sync with her magic, and there's also a hint of romance, but it's not like the main focus of the book. I've heard really good things about Uncharmed so far, so I do plan on picking up the audiobook for that, probably in October as well. I said I wasn't going to be doing an October TBR, and yeah, I'm just telling you several books that I'm hoping to read. Next question is there a new release that you're still waiting for? And yes, I am still waiting for Brigands and Bread Knives by Travis Baldry. I feel like I've said that wrong, but this is the next book in the Legends and Lattes series. The first book was Legends and Lattes. I have it over here, so I'll just grab it. This is one of my favourite cozy fantasy books of all time. It is perfection, in my opinion, and there was a prequel that came out following the main character from this book. I believe that Brigands and Bread Knives is a sequel to this, but it follows a character from the prequel. We're following a main character who ends up waking up far from home with what sounds like the hangover from hell. They're with a legendary warrior, a chaos goblin, and oh yeah, an absolutely thumping hangover. So sounds like it's going to be a fun time. Hopefully I end up loving this as much as the other 2 books in this series. Next question, is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favourite book of the year. So as I've already mentioned, if I do get round to The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez, I think this has potential to be a favourite of the year, but that wouldn't shock me because I'm expecting to love it. What would shock me is if I end up giving 5 stars to Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. I read Deep End earlier this year and it was okay. I gave it like a 3 stars. However, in the past, I have given Ali Hazelwood books 5 stars. I think I've given her every rating from 2 stars to 5, which is really annoying because it means that I don't know if I'm gonna like her books before I pick them up. But I would like to try and get around to Problematic Summer Romance before the end of the year. I've generally heard more positive reviews for this in comparison to Deep End, so I have higher hopes, but it's not guaranteed that I'm going to love it because I haven't loved some of her books in the past. The final question is, have you already started making reading plans for next year? And the answer to this is yes, kind of. Once I've finished with the Malazan Book of the Fallen series, I would like to start another epic adult high fantasy series. I don't know which one yet, but I'm leaning towards the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. I haven't actually read a Brandon Sanderson book since The Lost Metal, which came out a few years ago now, so I would like to get back into the Cosmere. I think it is time for me to read Stormlight, especially because book 5 came out, was it last year? I still have a few of his standalone projects as well that I need to get to, but that is one of my main plans for next year, is to get back into reading Sanderson. I think that does bring me to the end of this video though, so thank you for watching if you made it this far. Let me know in the comments some of your answers to these questions, and let me know if there are any books that you're really excited to read before the end of this year. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, click subscribe if you would like to see more videos from me, but otherwise I will see you next time. Bye.